You've tuned into the Bellingham Podcast for the week of December 20th, 2020. That's a whole lot of 20s. Episode 174. From that blowing me down city by the Salish Sea, I am AJ Barce.
And fa la la la, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, oh my goodness, it's almost Christmas time, ladies and gentlemen, but we got something for the watch fam. Check this out. We're going to talk about timepieces, horology. Yeah, that's actually a term. And all the things that go tick and tock. Coming up next on the Bellingham Podcast.
You gotta be careful saying TikTok these days. We're not talking about social networks. How you doing, Chris?
I was thinking I would be getting into hot water with that other term to describe watch aficionados. Or
horology?
Yeah, that one. H-O-R-O.
Yeah, horo.
I know.
As in the study of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How
Jeopardy.
All right. You should be the new host of Jeopardy.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, pour one out for Alex Trebek. But yes.
That could be interesting.
I would make it a lot more fun.
I can imagine so, especially after what are we drinking? What are we drinking?
So we're drinking. This is a Pacific Northwest delight. This is Market Spice tea from Market Spice down in Pike Place Market in Seattle. Established. Sorry guys. 1970 something.
A while back.
Anyway, this is the orange spice tea that is tasty all around.
Awesome, and this is a tasty beverage, as Samuel Jackson would say in Pulp Fiction. And for all of those out there listening in who have, like me, misophonia, allow me to demonstrate. Yeah. Misophonia is the hatred of those kind of annoying sounds.
I see. But see, like if you were in Japan, like you're sipping it very loudly, that would be like showing how much you do enjoy that delectable tea.
I'm bad. I'm worldwide, man. Thank you for the tea. All right, let's talk about watches, and this one's for the watch fam, y'all. Merry Christmas. Go for it.
Merry Christmas, watch fam. Yeah, so this is a collective episode. I mean, throughout the year, usually we have like watch fam punches and stuff of punching of episodes, but this one we kind of collected. So we're distilling a lot of different things, and Chris and I are going to be talking about watch trends in general and just some of the cool stuff that I acquired in 2020 and just
and where things are headed.
And where things are hopefully headed.
That's right.
So looking back, familiar, there is a spin-off show, a mini-series that we did called The Analog Explorer, and in it there are 5 interviews of different people within the watch fam. Actually, there's 6 because in 2020, I was planning on doing like a second run, and we got started with Darren over in the UK for Zulu Alpha Straps. But of course, 2020 happened.
Yeah, that's a thing.
So maybe there might be an AE Season 2 at some point in the future.
AE 2.0 for 2021.
Ooh, that's good.
I don't mess around, G.
Anyway, take a look back at those episodes.
So we got links to all of those individual episodes. And for the love of Cowboy Bob Orton and his son Randy, Drake. And if you wanted to get all of them in one wad, we also got a link to this Analog Explorer miniseries on Anchor FM.
Yes.
So this contains all of them in one shot.
Yeah.
But also, there's another link that we got that I want to draw your attention to, and here's where AJ and I really don't do a whole lot of self-publicity. So I'm going to do it for him. Back in the day, AJ created a physical the publication called the Analog Explorer. This is still available for a nominal price. And as we talked about in a previous episode, you got your freelancers, you got your creators, you got your makers. Throw them some bucks. Send some cashola their way. Oh, by the way, I went on the site where we have here to buy the Analog Explorer Volume 1. Still looking forward to Volume 2. There's a little pop-up on that website in which you might, depending on your mileage may vary, and where you visit this website, can save 35% on a purchase. Yeah, no, I've got because it's been almost 2 years, so I put a little bit of a discount just for the holidays. And stuff. 2 years old, but like AJ, the publication is timeless.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole purpose of the Analog Manifesto, and that which will dovetail nicely in episode 175 coming soon.
There you go. And stay tuned for that one coming up towards the end of the year.
Yeah. So let's dive into the kind of the trends and news. So a lot of this episode I'm going to frame a little bit, and in that mini series, it wasn't just a shameless plug for that show, but so recently I had my truck worked on. Had some warranty work down at Toyota. Actually, shout out to Trevor. If you're listening to the show, Trevor, I think you're the goods. So Trevor he's my dude that I usually go to, and he takes care of my truck.
Yes.
And when he was doing all the paperwork, I noticed that he had something different on his wrist. And I just looked down and just simply said, "Hey, nice Squale." And he looks at me, looks at his wrist, and he goes, "You're a watch guy?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, a friend here at work, he kind of got me into watches and stuff. And, I found out about this brand name Squale and stuff." And it's just interesting, Chris, because in the Analog Explorer, 2 years ago when that show was run, the trailer of it is that chances are that if you look at your wrist, you probably don't have a wristwatch on. And if you take a look around you, if you see somebody, hey, say nice watch, you might get a story or two out of it. And it's just funny that fast forward, the times are changing. And, here is a younger gentleman who is successful in his professional life, who threw down on a Squale, which is a Swiss-made watch, very good diver's watch. And I think it was an Atmos. And, he told me a little bit of a story of how he acquired it and stuff, and the fact that he wanted something that was just, something that could go along with him in his professional life. And I think more and more, Chris, we're going to start to see that come into more pop culture. Watch famming is not just a fringe thing anymore.
No, actually, I got a feeling it's going to go mainstream. We're going to talk about that later on in this show, about our predictions in 2021.
Yeah.
When we stare into our sapphire crystal ball, if you will, for the watch face of the future.
Absolutely. There's some anti-reflective coating of 2020 on there. Okay, buddy?
Yes. And all that other stuff.
So, case in point, this year in 2020, I think it was back in March or April, the New York Times actually ran a piece on the podcasts, predominant watch podcasts that are available. Of course, Hodinkee was listed, the gals over at 10 and 2, Two Broke Watch Snobs and stuff. And it's interesting, again, they kind of put the collective of the who's who at the zoo of the watch fam and specifically podcasts. But nevertheless, the fact is that in 2020, if you would have told me that, Watch Fam podcast would make the New York Times, what?
Well, if I told you in 2019 that we would all be working from home, you would have been saying, "Are you high on crack?" What? So anyway, stranger things have occurred. Good on the New York Times for actually waking up and smelling the TikTok automatic bezel, friggin' all those things I want to talk about.
So anyway, also in that again, bringing it more as an acknowledgement of the fact that this is not just a fringe thing. UNESCO, the folks that put heritage sites on the map, literally, just announced this last week at the time of this recording that, quote, the craftsmanship of mechanical watchmaking and art mechanics is now deemed a heritage status. And what this is it's the region that the Jura, forgive me, my Swiss and French friends, if I'm saying that wrong, the Jura mountain region, which is representative of a huge swath of both Swiss and French mechanical watchmaking that's practiced in those countries, are all in that region.
It's getting its props.
It's getting its historical props.
Absolutely.
And so, again, seeing the fact that in this digital age, mechanical, automata, horological stuffs are being recognized not just in a more modern sense, but as a traditional or cultural staple.
Yeah, it's not an anomaly or a retro kind of thing.
No.
This is an indication, a very strong indication that a huge adoption, worldwide adoption of slabs of glass and screens have just taken over our lives, and everyone, the world is got to be experiencing fatigue, and they're looking for something else. And why having something on your person that is an extension of your personality. I'm going to get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
What a great idea. And here's how it comes back again with a vengeance, with all of the watches and watchmakers.
But in that same vein, you mentioned the fact that it's a representation of somebody's personality. And, a big thing that you see in the watch fam that's been a trend forever is a ping of nostalgia. There was a golden age of watchmaking, and especially in sport watches, which is the 50s and 60s era. You've got the traditional divers, you've got the classic looks and stuff. And I think really when it comes to all of that, it's a twofold thing. One, it's a representation of somebody's personality, but two, it also is a throwback of that was the pinnacle of what design was. Not to say that design can't get better from that, but like
it was the benchmark.
It was the benchmark of all things form and function. And it's hard to break that mold. And I think a lot of brands catch a lot of flack for just, quote, going nostalgic or doing a heritage or throwback piece. I don't fault them for that. I mean,
one will always double neck, rubberneck,
Yep.
double take. That's what I was trying to say. Whenever they see a classic muscle car
Yep.
growling down the road. Now, you've got the Shelby Mustangs, the
Sure.
Dodge Challengers, all these muscle vehicles, but you give me a Hemi Cuda
oh yeah.
on Meridian Street, God help them, because they're not going to be able to go over 10 miles an hour anyway.
It wouldn't matter. It's all about what it sounds like, not how fast you're going.
Yes, you will always be looking to that and going, wow.
Yeah.
Same thing applies to those original mid-20th century timepieces.
Mm-hmm.
And but there's what you said earlier, there's a story behind them.
Yep.
And there's legacy, and there's the juju, and there's the juju voodoo, and the other mojo that's with that watch. And we're starting to see that occur as the attention about, well, I have the latest iPhone, I have the latest this and that, I've got what other kind of bling can I publicize? And I think it's starting to affect the young folks as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, no watch fam person is going to be delusional as to not acknowledge the Apple Watch. I mean, the Apple Watch definitely, I find it ironic that the same company that basically killed the wristwatch with 1,000 thongs in its pocket and the iPhone basically is putting more watches on wrists than like the whole of Switzerland.
Yep.
And yes, there's this notion of Hilux or, luxury stuff. And I'm not talking about the luxury side of horology.
If you want, there are plenty of podcasts for the
Hotorology.
The Hotorology, yeah.
Yeah. But again, like it's this notion that at the end of 36 months, 48 months, that Apple Watch is basically depleted. And then what? Like you're going to sell it. You're going to, there's no way to maintenance those things. Yes, don't throw shade at me. Yes, I know you can service them, but relatively speaking, it is not at the same level as if you were to work on a mechanical watch or even a quartz watch for that matter.
And also think about future proofing or what things will be like in 2030. Will the Apple Watch Series 3 that you may have gotten a discount with be relevant in 2030? Oh, that automatic movement watch that you're currently rocking, that's still going to be valid and appreciated 10 years from now and still functional because iOS, 23 or watchOS 13.
There we go.
Will probably make the Watch Series 3 that's currently on your wrist, Bellingham podcast listeners, if you're in the Apple clique, that will probably be obsolete.
Yeah. And a lot of the things that I get, especially from, I'm a very fringe millennial. If you look at the time scope of when a millennial is deemed as a generation, I'm at the very top of it. I'm an elder millennial. Thank you very much. But
do I call you Gandalf or
pretty much?
Yeah.
You shall not pass, young whippersnapper.
You shall not have the secondhand sweep. Anyway,
but millennials and Gen Zers, I think really what's happening is that you have a little bit of that nostalgia that we just described, as well as a lot of those generations coming into their own pre-Rona professionally. And so there's this awakening of wanting to commemorate that life, achievement, getting your big boy pants on, as it were, or big person pants on, right? And so, having that traditional wristwatch, whether it's quartz or automatic, like I'm not, we're going to talk about a quartz watch later in the show, but like, it's one of those things where it doesn't matter what it is. It's something that you're going to wear for a long duration of time. Male, female, does not matter. Like I know a lot of women that also commemorate a big achievement with a big watch. And that could be as simple as a watch that, is nominal in price, but they get the case back engraved. Because again, it's something they want to carry with them or get serviced or whatever. It's not about necessarily the timepiece. I hate to use the cliche from Accutron. It's not a timepiece. It's a conversation piece.
Yes.
It's that notion though, Chris. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's that notion that an Apple Watch simply doesn't do, or a smartwatch, Fitbit, I don't care. It doesn't do.
Well, We'll see how things turn out as years progress in the evolution of the Apple Watch, because it does fill a purpose.
It does. I'm not throwing it under the bus. It's a tool.
But there are also plenty of other watches that we're going to talk about that fit a purpose that are a heck of a lot cooler.
Yeah. And you know what else is a heck of a lot cooler and has a purpose that fills a lot of voids?
What's that?
KMRE 102.3 FM.
Oh, yeah, that community-powered radio station here in Bellingham, also streaming all over the darn world on kmre.org. That one, right?
That one.
Yes.
So, Chris, pop quiz hotshot.
Hit me.
In Top Gun, Maverick is wearing a very bespoke timepiece. Do you know what timepiece is on his wrist?
Was it the Mickey Mouse Timex?
Absolutely not.
Okay, let's see. In Miramar, a fighter pilot in 1986 who drives a sport bike and romances his teacher, which is really creepy in some cases, and plays shirtless volleyball with his co-pilot. I'm going to say that guy is wearing a Hamilton.
Very close. No, it was a Porsche. It was a murdered out Porsche design. And if you wanted to know more about that watch, there's actually a dedicated website on the web for whether you're in the watch fam or you're in the movie fam like you, Mr. Powell. Watch-id.com.
Sounds good.
It is the IMDb of watches in movies, folks. If you ever wanted to know that, or if you caught something in American Psycho, if you wanted to know what was on
Patrick Bateman's
wrist, you could go find out. Wolf of Wall Street, same thing. And it's funny because prop masters actually pick certain pieces for certain characters, and there are usually stories attributed to why those actors wear them. So, fun bit of trivia if you were ever wondering where you can go find what that bespoke timepiece was.
Very cool.
So, in the watch sphere, a few things that are kind of growing is the fact that there are these independents, and this is admittedly where I tend to gravitate towards. Some people call them micro brands, but honestly, what the independent resurgence reminds me of is back in the 50s and 60s when, traditional dive watches were being developed. Developed, folks. We're talking Jacques Cousteau strapping on tanks and figuring out how people can go under the water.
Without 3D printing.
And without dying. Yeah. Watches kind of evolved to the point where people in pop culture wanted to wear them because they're rugged, they served a purpose. Again, there was no cell phones back then. And skin divers were created that were the kind of more lightweight, more accessible. You found them in department stores. You see things like Wittenauer being developed. Montgomery Ward had a brand, Legant, which is a watch that I have. And I find that these independents today are doing very much the same thing of those skin divers of yesteryear, offering a lot of bang for your buck and creating some really skookum stuff.
Could it be that as we talk about some of these watch manufacturers that you got, that these independents are in some cases offering a lifestyle timepiece?
Lifestyle, I would actually lifestyle with a lowercase L, because lifestyle these days in like social media has a whole different connotation.
Hey guys, I want to talk about lifestyle blog. No, not like that.
Oh, anyway, no, sorry. Hey guys, that phrase.
Yeah.
My students know never to use that phrase. So no, lifestyle with regard to the fact that giving the everyday person a timepiece that is form and function, durable, supported, and just a really, really good design. At the top of my list, and again, none of these brands that you're going to hear are sponsoring the show. These are just
in no particular order.
No particular order. No particular order. I'll give you that. Top of my list is going to be Baltic-watches out of France. The Baltic Iconograph bronze that I've had on, my wife got me for Father's Day of 2020, and it has basically been my watch of COVID. I'm working on a post about it, and Baltic is, Etienne, if you're listening, dude, you got an open invitation to be on the show or on the Analog Explorer, because I think Baltic's got what as I was describing the whole notion of the resurgence of skin divers or that era in spades. They have a GMT that just recently got launched. They have this bronze. They've got more classic, the HMSs, which are more of a sector dial, and all of them are reasonably priced. There's a style for everyone, male or female. And it's just that classic styling that anybody can wear and don't have to worry. Like, go and do stuff with this stuff. There's a watch that Baltic did for a swimmer or diver that swam through the plastic void. You know, that glob of like garbage out in the ocean.
Oh yes.
And they made a watch for that gentleman. And I believe they auctioned it later. You know, this is a company that openly is just like, dude, use our watches, use them. And like, you don't have to make these things safe queens. And that's the thing that I want to bring out, that if you don't understand the concept of a safe queen, these are in the watch fam. If you're a collector, you may acquire watches for an investment where you take it, you set it in a safe, and you don't really wear it. Not my thing. Like, all of my watches, new or old, get wrist time. And I like any company, whether that's Baltic or Fair or any of these other ones I'm going to mention, they really do stand behind their pieces. And I think that's important, especially in today's era. Like, if you're going to have one of these pieces and it's going to mark an occasion and live on your wrist, you know, it's getting heirloom status with every day you wear it, you know, as opposed to a piece of tech. The
patina is in progress on your wrist right now, based on your use and abuse as your daily driver, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, this basically, I mean, full disclosure, the Aquascaf bronze is basically, I probably have like the darkest, I'm not bragging here, but I probably have the darkest bronze Aquascaf that I've seen on Instagram.
There you go.
It is, besides it and how is the PNW 001, I've gotten more comments about, or questions about this watch. Like I said, I can't laud, you know, Baltic enough for what they're doing. Another one on the other side of the pond is Fair out of the UK. Hands down, I think Fair probably has some of the best case designs and just best overall aesthetic, full stop. And I like the fact that they're a company that is around adventure. All of their pieces are named after either a ship or an endeavor. It's just something that if you're an adventurer, some type of person, most of us here in the PNW can have an affinity for that. Your first stop should be Fair. Like, look at something there. And on top of that, you're looking at Swiss grade stuff. Baltic has a mix of both Japanese movements as well as Swiss movements. But Fair, man, like, oh, man, their cases are phenomenal. I love my Rocher. So take a look at them. Bringing it back here in the United States, Orion Watches, which is led by Nick Harris. Shout out to him. He'll forever have a shout out from me because I think he's a cornerstone in the watch mod community. He's a gentleman that studied at the Seattle Watchmaking School, and now he's on the other side of our country with his own company. And Orion Watches, you know, they are, I think probably, again, his case design is probably one of the most unique that I've seen. And he designed it around a movement that has a very thin profile. Everything about that watch is about hugging your wrist, so it blends into you. What
Nick is doing with Orion watches is indicative of the growing trend that we have seen in the 21st century. A lot of people want to have individualization with their exterior. They want to have something that's one of a kind that is going to be noticed. And Nick's designs in what's going on to be unique. You got the story, you got the interest peaked, but very impressive as far as the attention to detail that goes on. And it's indicative versus a top worldwide manufacturer that's just making widespread designs and only having a few subtle changes per watch design. Per the models. Nick's really doing some good work.
No, he is. And what's great also about Nick is that he's very open. Like, if you follow him on social, he flat out will show you everything that's going on his bench, why he does certain things, why he prices certain things. Like, you know, he's a no nonsense type of gentleman. And, you know, I've got nothing but kind words about him. The few times that I've been able to chat with him, which is not much, Chris, honestly. Like,
we'll change that in 2021.
He did hook me up with the case that eventually became my SKX 031, which, you know, I'm over the moon of. So, like I said, check out Orion Watches. He is a watch mod aficionado who became a watchmaker who's just a cool dude in my book. And then lastly is a little bit more obscure brand, but closer to us here in the Pacific Northwest, Aries. Aries is actually just south of us, Chris. My understanding about this, the owner and proprietor of Aries Watches is he was former CIA, and so he makes a mission timer watch that is just heck built for stout, kind of in the same vein as Elliott Brown. I'd probably qualify Aries as like the Elliott Brown of the Pacific Northwest.
Well, this is a case that if it's good enough for our people in service or our government, we could tell you about how the watch is made, but then we'd have to kill you.
Exactly, right? This podcast may self-destruct in 3, 2. So Aries Aries watches, if you're looking for a Pacific Northwest brand watch, again, in the case of both Orion and Aries, I don't have any of these watches. These are just ones that have been on my radar for quite some time. But take a look at Aries, man. Their mission timer looks robust. I mean, Ethan Hunt would rock an Aries watch.
That could very well be. And the best part about this is, as you talked about the New York Times article, what is occurring to me is, yeah, that's great for the Top Gun watch podcast to talk about the big names.
Yeah.
The Bellingham podcast, talking about the watch fam. Here's some shouts out to the independent ones, the ones that are really doing great work, but may not be making all of the huge headlines. We want to give them some press.
Yeah. So in that same vein, Chris, I've been jabber-jawing a lot about this. You, as someone who is very minimal in the watch fam, but still a part of the watch fam, what do you see in this sphere, dude?
Well, if you haven't found out by now, or if you haven't noticed by now, in this episode, I am pretty much the Flavor Flav to your Chuck D.
Word.
In this Public Enemy podcast about watches and what's going on in 2021. What I'm seeing, or what I would notice, and by the way, I don't have, my crystal ball is kind of like fractured, and so it's not very clear. But what I would imagine is, with the success for the past 4 to 5 years of the Apple Watch, many companies are going to try to emulate that, a square face, integration, invisible integration, if you will, with a mobile device. This is where more companies are going to get into the game to try to take market share away from the Apple Watch. That's just one thing that I'm seeing, because unfortunately, while we are talking about the analog life, and more people, the majority, are still really enjoying to hear that ding ding notification and to get the vibrating thing on the wrist. Yeah. Whoop. And along those lines, as we've talked about on this show, there's a personalization, a customization that we all are looking for. And when an independent, agile watchmaker is able to do a limited edition run, one more reason to get this, because it's one of 500, one of 1,500. Now you're part of a clique. And I got this watch because you have a recognizable logo or design, but now it's this model, which is that much more covetous for others around. Everyone wants to stand out. More and more, I got a feeling that for those who would be thinking of a watch, I just need to throw down $25 at a department store and get something that, matches my dress or matches my slacks. Now you're going to realize that people are dropping $700 to $800 on a mobile phone. The same principle can be applied to what's on their wrist. And so, as 4 digits for a phone, for a watch, that will probably be okay. I'll figure out a way to do that for those who have the cashola liquid assets to be able to do that. But otherwise, distancing from the mindset that I just need to have something on my wrist, because you're getting something that's going to be quality and a story behind it.
Again, looping back to what we were saying about generationally, millennials and Gen Zers typically are more sustainably focused. So again, it's one less I got to have it type of thing. You have the minimalist culture where if you have that one thing, it feeds into a generational shift that I think the watch fam, unbeknownst, is kind of riding the wave of. And the fact is that we have 2 generations that are predominantly experiences over things. And if there is a thing, there has to be an experience attached to it, which I find interesting.
And since we've been on lockdown in our residences, there's going to be more experiences once we are able to go maskless and get out and about, move about the cabin again. And what wonderful way is to bring something with you that can actually pass through TSA without too much discernment. But anyway, all right, so I've been using a clock on my neck like Flavor Flav.
Very blinged out, bro. Very
exactly.
Blinged.
Let's go to this. We're putting a bow on this Watch Fam episode. Let's talk about quality assurance.
Quality assurance, that favorite part of every episode that I love. These picks are picked for you by Chris Powell and AJ Barsay for your quality assurance.
All right, what do you got, AJ?
So for me, I've got 2 straps, and they're more of a hands-on thing because I have both of them. Shout out again, our mate across the pond. Dan at timely_moments. He sent me a Elliott Brown Heritage strap. It's a blue woven strap with a light blue center line. And I gotta say, Chris, like Elliott Brown has redefined the NATO, in my opinion, with the strap.
Alrighty.
It is minimalist to a T, where there's only one buckle. There's no keepers. The buckle is its own keeper. As a matter of fact, it's a patent pending design of a buckle. The only way I can describe it to you, dear listener, is if you remember the alligator strap or alligator clip type of things on a suspender strap.
Oh, I remember those well. When I was a little shaver, my mom made me wear suspenders.
Right. So basically, imagine if that was in between a butterfly hinged buckle where the strap feeds itself in and it locks against those kind of alligator teeth. And it don't move. Like, it's pretty amazing. Take a look at it. You have to Google it to really understand what I'm talking about. But the other cool thing about this is Elliott Brown partnered with a manufacturer out of Derbyshire, UK called Bower Bond. They were originally established in 1795.
Hello.
And so this Victorian shuttle loom, it's in a similar vein of what I've seen Tudor do with their premium straps, where it's an old school loom that a whole bunch of threads, and then you have this wooden shuttle that goes back and forth. Apparently, there are 200 wrapped threads with antibacterial that is being in each of these straps. It feels as durable as all get out, soft. It's an amazing strap. Like I'm just gobbing on about it, but quite frankly, like it's a redefinition of what a strap can be for an adventure seeker or somebody who wants to be dressed up just slightly.
And this is where you need right now, dear listener, to punch that link on your podcast app to check out ellybrownwatches.com/collections/straps
Yes.
to check out this wonderful NATO webbing watch strap going on with the shuttle loom.
It's pretty killer. They also have a little bit of a video I got in the show notes as well. The other one, which I got a huge shout out to, which is RSM straps, also known as the walrus strap. So this was something that I was doing kind of a photo competition that you see on Instagram every so often. Anyway, RSM sent me a strap out of that photo competition, and I've been eyeing them for quite some time because they have a very unique webbing. They have something called their engraved straps, which basically looks like a standard watch strap, but there's a blue or a different colored line in the middle. But unlike most other straps that you've probably had on your wrist or have seen online, the stripe in the center, it's indented into the actual fabric.
It's a dip,
and so there's added texture from it. I'm quite smitten with this strap, so much so that it's basically bonded to my Aquascaf bronze. I have the coffee strap, which is brown, kind of almost bronze, with a blue line in the center. And quite frankly, like this should have been one of the straps that like Baltic should offer this bronze watch on.
I'm looking at your watch right now, and I'm seeing that this is so unique in the color scheme.
Yeah.
And it's not like your typical watch with a typical black strap, stereotypical kind of thing. This one is like, wow, there's a whole lot of modern colors going on in there.
Yeah, but it's also it reminds me a lot of kind of Terry's philosophy over at Toxic NATO's. Like he picked the colors that are more natural, more subdued, because it goes with more things. And I kind of feel like RSM takes the same vein. Quoting from their website, quote, "We started off with the herringbone twill strap. It was inspired from the historical M1941 HBT uniform issued to soldiers in World War I. I haven't experienced one of their twill straps, but like they started off with that and then they've kind of expanded from there. But quite frankly, I pointed a lot of my friends and colleagues to these engraved straps because one, the texture, but two, their hardware is pretty cool. It's just a square buckle. It's a pin and keeper buckle that you find with holes, so you can kind of pick the best hole for your wrist. But they also take the same play out of like Crown and Buckle's chevron strap, where the actual buckle head you can adjust, so you can lengthen or shorten it based off of your wrist. You can run it as long or as short as you like. So it's kind of nice. Chris, I've gobbed on too much again. What do you got?
As I'm going over and preparing for this episode and trying to like cram whatever I'm doing to try to hang with the watch fam on this one.
Oh, you hang.
Because I got imposter syndrome for this kind of stuff because I got one watch. But I got a feeling, like in 2021, you made a comment about like some women will be buying a watch for a major feat. And I got a feeling like in 2021, there may be more than one watch in my collection.
Oh, wow. Minimalist.
For quality assurance, there's a watch company out there, and it's not one of the big guns, but they are really impressive in my book. We have mentioned them before, and one of the listeners of the show, hey, Tom, has worn one and is a bit of an evangelist of them. And this is for Liv watches, LIV watches. If I really bust my hump in 2021 and, happen to like go to the casino and push the button and I get a big old jackpot, the P51, oh yes, it shall be mine. This is the Wayne's World thing where I look at the window. Party time, excellent. The P51 limited edition with a beautiful strap, but from a reasonable standpoint, a more affordable one, the Rebel DDC, the orange on their website, squarish face, 41 millimeter, Swiss Ronda caliber Z60, sapphire crystal, super luminova BGW9 lume, 100 meters water resistant. I have a choice of a rubber, leather, metal, or a suede strap. Thank you very much, because the dark gray goes lovely with the orange, and that thing sticks out.
It is. Liv definitely designs very avant-garde.
Yes, and while it can be avant-garde, you call it avant-garde, I call it
bold,
attention-getting.
Bold.
When I go to a coffee shop and I got a big left wrist, and if I'm going to be if I'm going to be wearing black attire, and I got a dark gray and orange watch, that's going to be like, I'm eyeballing the Liv watches.
Yeah, this is the second time you've brought it up.
Yeah, I know. And if I keep telling myself this, I'll probably throw down. But I've enjoyed the SKX for a number of years now, and I just don't want to add another one. I'm very cautious. But for quality assurance, I give it up to the Liv Rebel DDC because orange doesn't need to be the new black. It's just awesome orange.
Wow.
But, all those features on a sesame seed bun, you know what we needed with a sesame seed bun?
Fork.
That's right. Stick a fork in the show.
That wraps up for this 174th edition, dedicated to you, the Watch fam of the Bellingham Podcast. Thank you again so much for listening to us, rating us, reviewing us, wherever you like to get our podcast. Remember, if you are in the Bellingham area, PNW, you might be listening to us on terrestrial KMRE 102.3 FM.
Their community parrot is streaming all over the world at KMRE.org. What voice is that? What voice do we do?
I don't know.
It's just a little bit of the. I don't know. It's just a random kind of thing. Drink your tea.
It's the tea talking, and I'm AJ Barside.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thanks very much for joining us for episode 174. Heaven help us on the Bellingham Podcast.